All right, guys. So this is Colin from Akaya. Today, I decided to make a video about performance. This is mainly geared towards if you do like any kind of music production or any kind of video production. But if you're a gamer or just a regular PC user, then you can definitely follow some of the steps here. Just wanted to put a little disclaimer in. I would definitely not do any of these steps if you're not comfortable with at least working on Windows on your computer, because there's a chance that I mean if you're not familiar with computers, or you don't normally tweak any settings on your computers, definitely check out what some of these settings are before you do them. But for the most part, if you're comfortable with computers, you probably know some of this stuff already. Yeah, so let's get into it. The first thing you want to do is you want to open up the task manager, and this is the quickest way to get to it. You could also do Control Alt Delete and then click Task Manager, but right clicking on the start bar here, you just right click there and click Start Manager. Task Manager. All right, so this is actually a new feature, I think, with Windows 8, where he started doing this. Initially, you would have to go into the Microsoft configuration utility to get to the startup settings, but starting with Windows 8, they started putting the startup apps in the task manager. So here, as you can see, I have a few applications that I have starting up on my computer. I try to disable a few of the ones that I probably I won't be needing or using that much, which, as you see, is not a lot. Um, the good thing here is that you're able to sort it by the startup impact that it has on your computer. So all these applications here have a high impact. And actually, I don't need this one to startup, so let me just go ahead and disable that one. So a lot of applications here are applications that are entries that you will probably need. Like for me, I need these to run. Um, if I disable a few of these, then for instance, this is a Glasswire. This is my it's actually a pretty good program. It's like it's a firewall and a application monitoring type software. It's actually pretty decent. So this is something that I need to run at all times, because if I was to disable this, then I wouldn't be able to track my all the history, because it actually does a continuous recording of all the activities that are all the applications that are trying to access the internet and stuff like that. So this is something that I definitely need to have, and that's why I have it enabled here. It does say here that it has a high startup impact, and that's because it's such a large program. Um, Usually the ones with low impact and medium are like services that you need to run in the background, or like hardware, like hardware drivers, or monitors. Like here, I have a printer monitor here, and my tablet driver here. So, and then I have my malware bytes. This is for my malware protection. I have that enabled as well. So these are all things that I need. And I love my Windows gadgets, so I have that enabled here as well. Uh, so there's probably nothing here that I'll be able to disable, but it all depends on your on what you have installed. I highly suggest that you don't just go in here and disable stuff unless you know exactly what it is. And the good thing is that Microsoft actually provides a little bit of detail, at least the publisher of the application and the name of the application. So if you're not sure of something, you can definitely go and look it up. and make sure that it's something that you know for sure that you're not using. If you don't know what it is, I would say maybe leave it, because you probably realize pretty quickly that something isn't working that you need to work. And here's a good way. There's a BIOS time that gives the time to that the computer took to boot from the BIOS. And once you disable a few of these applications, this number should get a good bit lower. So yeah, so I think that's the first thing I would do as far as performance. So the next thing we're going to take a look at is indexing. And indexing is a feature that Microsoft has implemented, and I think since XP, where your files are indexed, and it allows for searching and things like that to be quicker. So we'll go ahead and take a look at that now. All right, guys. So the next step that we're going to take to speed up our computer's performance is to disable the indexing. So as I said before, indexing is a way for Microsoft, or I should say, a functionality that they implemented to I mean, pretty much what it says. It indexes your files so they're easier to access. So this is great for performing searches, etc. Yeah, please. I've had a ton of issues with trying to save space on my drives. So yeah, I know you may say definitely you should definitely not have your drives in the red. And hopefully I'm gonna upgrade my drives soon so I have a little bit more space. But yeah, just ignore that for now. So the best way to do this is to go to the drive. So if you're in the gaming, or you have like DAW, or you're doing any kind of video editing, then you're probably using an SSD. You know, Here, as you can see, one of the side effects of having an SSD is that you run out of space pretty quickly. Uh, but anyway, so most likely you're not using your SSD to store a lot of files, as far as maybe like your media files or anything that you'd be searching for. So you should be pretty safe disabling the index in here. So you just want to right click on the drive and go to properties. And then you just want to uncheck that box that says allow files on this drive to have context indexed. Um, so, let's see, if you have like an SSD, it shouldn't give you too many issues. But it doesn't hurt to disable it. It may make searches take a bit longer. So if you have a lot of documents or anything that you're going to be searching for on your drive, then I would say just leave it enabled, because you may run into issues if you disable it. So I'm just going to let that run for a little bit. Make sure you want to do this before you do it. Because you're gonna have to wait, and then once it's done, then you're gonna have to check it again so it can reindex everything. So definitely make sure you want to get it done before you uncheck that box, or you have time to wait for it to complete its processing. With SSDs, it shouldn't take too long. See, it's going pretty quickly here now. It's going through my programs. So the next thing we're going to take a look at is our page file, and so your page file is definitely something that you need, but I've seen where you can actually reduce the size of it, and it won't affect your performance too much. If you're into a problem where Windows is complaining about memory, then you may have to make it a little bit larger, um, than the minimum. But if you're like me and you have a lot of RAM, like I have about 32 gigs, then you should be fine reducing the size of the page file. You should hopefully not get too many problems as far as memory errors and stuff like that. So yeah, so I'm gonna show you how to do that as soon as this thing gets done. So let me stop for now, and I'll be back when it's done. All right. All right, guys. So we're gonna go ahead and reduce the size of the page file now. Yeah, I didn't realize earlier that I completely forgot. I'm actually using a start menu replacement application. So the steps I showed you earlier may not apply as far as getting to your C drive. I mean, but you should be familiar with that already. If you're not, it's usually where it says this PC. So usually if you just double click on that, it'll open up the location of your drives. So yeah, I completely forgot earlier that I was using my start menu replacement. So alright, so in order to get to the settings for the page file, you want to go to this PC, and you want to right click on it, and then you want to go to more, and then you want to go to properties. And I hope you guys can hear me okay, because it's like storming outside. We'll see how bad it is. If anything, I'll probably do a little bit of voiceover work to fix it. But yeah, so you go to properties here, and then you want to go into advanced system settings, and then you want to go to performance, and you just go to settings here. These settings are great here also, as far as your if you want to speed up the GUI, you can modify these settings here. I actually find that it's better to have them enabled than disabled, because even though it says that it's doing less, the interface just seems a little bit more sluggish with some of these settings off, so I just leave them on. So in order to get to the page file, you want to go to advanced, and then you want to go to virtual memory. Oh yeah, and also here, the processor scheduling. So this is usually set to programs, and you want to leave it there. So that's the best place for that. So for the virtual memory, you want to go into change, and here, what you can do is you can actually change the location of the page file. So for me, what I did was I actually removed it completely from my C drive, and I put it on my D drive. And here, if you look below, it says the recommended size is it's about 5 gigabytes, and you have the option to like disable it completely. I wouldn't, because you may get some memory errors if you saying that you're running out of memory or something, even though you're really not, if you set it to no page file. So I just do a custom size, and you'd probably be better off following the recommended minimum, but I've been using this number for a while. It's just 2 gigs, and I haven't really had any issues, so I usually set it to that one. The theory behind setting it to a set size is that it allows you to reduce the amount of work that a drive has to do as far as growing and reducing the size of the page file. I mean, that's what I've been told. I just know that usually when I set it to a set size, you know, I don't really have any problems as far as slowdowns or anything like that. So I've been using this for a while, and it's been working for me. So you know, you just set it to you know, whatever you want to set it to, 2 gigs, 4 gigs, and just put it on a drive. If you have an extra drive, you can always put it on that drive, or you can leave it on the C drive. I try to offload as many disk intensive tasks off my C drive because it's an SSD, and SSDs don't like a lot of cycles, or should I say a lot of write cycles. So you don't want to have something running on your computer that's going to continuously write to the SSD, because it's going to reduce the lifespan of the drive. So if you have like a traditional hard drive, mechanical hard drive, then I would just put it there. So like here, I have it here on my D drive. So yeah, so you know, that's I guess as far as it is for the page file. So the next thing we're going to look at is the defragmentation, you know, of your computer. So you know, you always hear people say you have to defrag. This won't necessarily affect the performance of your SSD, and they actually say that you're not supposed to defragment your SSD because it doesn't get I mean, it gets fragmented, but it's not in the sense of if you're using like a spindle drive, because SSD is pretty much just a bunch of memory chips. The fragmentation doesn't affect the performance. With a traditional drive, when the data is fragmented, it's scattered all over the drive, so the read head has to go in and out, you know, from you know, has to scan the entire drive usually to get a file that's scattered across the entire drive. So that's why I say it's fragmented. So you know, it has to take a couple revolutions before it'll actually be able to build that file up from the data fragments that are on the drive. So with SSDs, you don't really have that, because all the data is stored on chips that are, you know, they're immediately accessible. You know, there's no read head to read the data on the chips. They're right there, so you don't need to defragment your SSD. I actually use a program called O&O Defrag. It's right here. It's actually a pretty decent program. They have sales like I think every 2 weeks they have a sale, it seems. It's a very good program. The only thing that I don't like with this company is that they are always updating this program. And when I say update, I don't mean like they're releasing incremental versions. They're always doing full updates, version updates. So right now I think they're up to 20 or 21, and I just, you know, upgraded from the last version I had to this one maybe a year ago. And there's a nag screen. I don't see it now, but there's usually a nag screen that's telling you to upgrade even though you already paid for it. But aside from that, it's a really good program. As you can see, it tells me you know, how long it's been on the computer, what it's done so far, etc. So right now it's saying that the C drive is really, and this is pretty bad. See, I haven't defragged it in a while, but as you can see, the C drive is really fragmented. Actually, a lot more. I'm so happy that this bad, so I can actually fix that, so you guys can see. The C drive is gonna be fragmented, and there's nothing you can really do about it, because as I said earlier, there's no, you know, as far as fragmentation goes, it's not affecting the performance of your drive. And if you actually do defragment it often, you're gonna wear down the drive and the chips, and then you have to end up replacing your SSD a lot sooner than you expect. So definitely do not want to defrag. And this program actually can detect that this is an SSD, and it won't defrag it. So let me test that now just to make sure. So you see, it says optimize with trip, and it won't defrag it. I mean, I'm sure you can maybe force it, but it won't defrag it as far as you know, analyze it, and it'll do all that stuff. And You know, actually, you know what? Never mind. Yeah, it actually will defrag it if you tell it to, but you know, it'll. Let me just make sure. Let's do this. Let's do a space. All right, good. See, so if you try to run it, it'll tell you that it's a solid state drive, and it pretty much tells you the reason why you're not supposed to defrag it. So it then gives you the option to run the SSD optimizer, which is what you want to do. You don't want to defragment it. So you know, it'll go through and do its little thing. I really don't know what it's doing. It's probably not even doing anything, but yeah, it gives you a false sense of hope that it's actually working. But hey, who knows? I mean, it's a good program I've been using for a few years now, and it's really good at what it does. So yeah, so you know, I just want to go ahead. I'm just gonna defrag all of these. Actually, I have the stealth since I'm using the computer. Let's defrag that drive too. All right, so while that's going and doing this thing, we can take a look at the traditional Windows defragmentation tool. As you'll see, it's really not. It's not really that much. You know, the other program is really. Oh yeah, and I have Defragler too. That's a free program from the same company that makes CCleaner or Crap Cleaner, as it was originally called. And that one is pretty good. And it's free, so you can always test it out. And I'll show you the. So this is the Windows built-in defrag. It's really simple. You can just do optimize. You know, it doesn't really have that much of an interface, but it does the job. And you can actually schedule it to do optimizations. This is not something that I would do unless I know for sure that I'm gonna have like downtime at specific times, which I don't. But if you know for sure that you're not going to be using a computer at a certain time, then you can go ahead and turn that on. And we can take a quick look at the defragler too, so you can see what it looks like. So yeah, so this application is free. And it's a little slow now because I'm actually defragging the drive in the background. It's usually a lot quicker than this. But it's a really simple program. But it has all the basics. You know, it gives you a map of the drive. It tells you all the drives that you have. You can do one of the good things with this program is that it allows you to defragment individual files, so you don't have to do the whole disk. Yeah. Okay, so here's this other program popped up now saying that the defragmentation is complete. As you can see, it didn't do anything, really. I mean, you know, and this is because it's an SSD and it's not really going to defrag anything. And as I said, this program does not actually do any defragmentation when you choose to optimize. It just optimizes it, you know, as programmed, I guess. So here's the defragler, and you can analyze. It has a little grid here that shows you all the fragmented files. You know, as I said, it allows you to do by file list. You can search for specific files to defragment. You know, it gives you a drive map health. So it'll give you some smart information as far as you know, the raw data on like you know, power on hours. I mean, usually if something was wrong here, you would get a like a red or yellow notification saying that it's not functioning properly. But you know, for the guys who know how to read through all this stuff, as you can see, my drive has been through a lot. For SSD drive, I mean, this is a lot of data that has been written to this drive or read from this drive, and it's still going. So you know, 510 days, it's been over a year. since it's been on, I guess, overall. So yeah, it's pretty good. So let me go ahead and close that out. All right, so the next thing we're gonna take a look at is this is specifically for the guys who do like video editing or any kind of music production on your computers. So one of the main things you run into with your computer as far as live music production in general is latency. So my sound card actually has a built-in latency monitor. I have a Native Instruments Complete Audio 6, and it actually has it built in, but there's actually a free application I'll show you, but let me show you. So KA6. Spelling problems. Alright, so the Complete Audio 6 control panel. That's one of the few things I like about this card. It actually has a built-in diagnostics where you can go in and check the latency. You just do start here, and for me it's gonna say that there is an issue with latency, and the reason why is because I'm using a program called IDA64 to monitor my computer. That's what you see over here and on the right hand side. I just like knowing what's going on with the computer, so I'll go ahead and exit out of that, and it should stay green. So see, it's gone to green now. Let me see. Alright, so this is another application called Latency Mon, and this will also give you latency information on your computer. And this one is actually pretty detailed too in what it gives you. I'll actually give you the name of drivers and different system files that may be causing the latency on the computer. So this one is actually really detailed, and it gives you access to processes, the list of drivers, tells you how many CPUs and threads that you have running, and what's interrupting them. And so this is really advanced. So unless you're comfortable going through all this information, you probably just better off staying on this page. There's another application I downloaded it the other day. I'll go ahead and see if I can find that. Alright, so the other program that we're going to look at is another free program called DPC Latency Checker, and this one is very similar to what I have on my sound card. It gives you the test interval, gives you the current latency and absolute maximum. So from what I've seen, usually you want to keep this under 500 microseconds if possible. But anything up to 1,000 is usually okay. But you want to try not to go more than that. Most computers I've seen usually hover between 500 and 1,000. So that's where you'd want to keep it. So let me go ahead and I'm going to open them. So there's two programs I know for a fact on my computer that will bump up the latency when I open them. So one is going to be the IDA, and it's usually anything that's communicating with hardware. They say network drivers are another big one that causes this problem. So sometimes you have faulty network drivers or any kind of hardware drivers, they'll cause this problem. But see, as soon as I open up that software, and I think it's because it does a system monitoring, so it's constantly accessing the hardware, and that's why I'll get these spikes. Usually I can leave it running and it doesn't really bother me too much when I'm using the software. But there are times when I'll get pops and cracks as the CPU usage gets higher, and then I'll just disable or close that program out, and then it'll go back to normal, and usually the cracks and pops will go away. And there's another program, so it's called Cam, and it came with my cooler, and this one is horrible as far as your latency goes. So with both of these programs running, it pretty much sends it all the way up in the red. So yeah, so definitely want to check what applications you have that maybe communicating with your hardware. A lot of times if you have like these newer motherboards with these overclocking utilities or anything that monitors the hardware, you'll have these latency spikes. My last motherboard, it was a gigabyte motherboard, and I had an overclocking utility on there. It also uses to control the fan, and that would do it also. So these are pretty good tools if you're getting like any pops or stutters or any crackling or anything in your DAW or your video editor or even gaming. Definitely check out one of these programs and check your latency. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I will probably make another video with more advanced ways of improving your performance. Ultimately, you want to make as little change to your operating system as possible. You really don't want to go around in there messing around with settings unless you really know what you're doing. The best upgrade is hardware, always. You can overclock if that's possible. I overclock all my hardware. As you can see, I don't know if you can see, I have a Ryzen 5 1600 in here, and I've been running it at 3.9 gigahertz out of the box. And as long as your cooling is good, you probably won't have any issues. My last chip, I had it overclocked for about 5 years, and no issues whatsoever. So overclocking is pretty good if you know how to do it the right way, or if you have the ability to keep your chips cool. But yeah, if you guys have any questions or anything, just let me know. I mean, I have a ton of knowledge on this stuff, but I'm really not good at directing myself to make these videos. So if you guys have any questions, post below. Let me know, and I'll upload another video with some different steps or anything you want to know about maybe Studio One, computers, whatever. I'll be having more videos up, as I come up with different topics. But as I said, if anyone has any special requests, and I'll definitely look into them and maybe upload a video or two. So thanks for watching. Still trying to work on my public speaking, so I've had a lot of ums and ahs and stutters, but hopefully I'll get better over time. So yeah, thanks for watching. See you next time. All right, bye.